No sports topic is out of bounds. You found the MN Sports Blitz. Along with former Minnesota Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway, here's Joel Niemeyer.
And good day. Welcome back to another edition of the MN Scorefeed Blitz. I'm Joel. That is Chad. Good day to you, sir.
Yeah, good day. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you back here, and boy, you know, for the local kids, you know, it's a fun time. You end of January into February starts to be playoff time for winter sports, and I would guess you got all the info at MN Scorefeed.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, our database here in Minnesota has just grown so wildly. It's been incredible. I mean, I think the fans and parents and grandparents and everybody, administrators, have really gotten behind it and see the ease of use and all the information in one spot, and you don't have to jump around to different websites to find, you know, streaming services or whatever. So every day we get a little bit better, a little bit stronger. And I think the fun part is you kind of start to feel the community grow. You know, we see that interaction on social media. We see that change starting to happen. So it's really important and a lot of fun.
And one thing that I've started to try and use on the app a little bit, you know, you do have your standings, you got the conference and different kinds of standings, but then you have the Class A, the Class AA, whatever class it is, hockey, basketball. You got the whole standings there. It's similar to what high schools use now, QRF, but I don't think it's quite as I don't think it's exactly the same. Maybe you can explain how you got that formula.
Yeah, so that formula is interesting. So as you guys, you know, most people know who've been following along, the Minnesota Scorefeed app was developed in South Dakota with the South Dakota Scores app. And they use the PowerPoint system that South Dakota uses. And the nice part about that PowerPoint system is everybody knows the formula, everybody knows how it works. So it's a plus and minus, because sometimes you can have teams or coaches that don't want to schedule certain teams because they don't want to take away from their PowerPoints. Well, the reality is you know the formula. So that was actually adopted from Nebraska, which was successful there as well. So we now pulled over our own system, kind of utilized what we've done in South Dakota, and then just kind of displayed it in our own way to kind of show the rankings based off on how we do it. So we don't, you know, we're not looking at any other rankings. We're not looking at any other websites. This is our own internal system of ranking sections and kind of based it off of gameplay and who you're playing and who you're winning and losing against. And it's nice because you kind of have, you know, we kind of have our own path.
Have you gotten any feedback from coaches, parents, whatever about that system yet?
We have. It's been very positive. I think, you know, you look at some of the ratings, especially, I know football, this has kind of gone back and forth, and section by section, they sometimes adopt the system that Minnesota uses, and some sections don't because they don't think it's as accurate. You know, I don't know the ins and outs of if that's accurate or not, but what we do know is that we've had good feedback on our app and through social media that people really enjoy it, really like it, and they think it's accurate, which is the most important thing, is can you get the right matchups when it comes to section time to give every team the right chance to get a win.
Well, another area that's looking deep in playoff time is the NFL. We'll start with playoffs, and then we'll move over to the big news of the week, the Vikings getting a new GM here. We'll start off on the playoff side, though, as you got the Niners taking on the Rams this weekend here. Before the playoffs, I thought the Rams were the most talented team. I didn't think they'd get here. I didn't think they were consistent enough, but that's kind of a surprise matchup in the NFC.
Yeah, you know, I think it's a surprise, although I would be more surprised because it's the Niners. I mean, I think the Niners are doing it because of style of play and guys stepping up and kind of a team being built for the playoffs. You know, kind of like I thought the Titans were, quite honestly. You know, obviously that didn't work out. But then you see what the Rams have done. The Rams, from a talent standpoint and the ability to rush the passer, it's unique. It's unbelievable. You look at that roster and you say, well, this is a super team. It's like the NBA super team. But, you know, you still got to win because these other teams are really good too. You know, there's so much going into this matchup because you have the history of the NFC West, and they play each other a couple times a year, and there's so much that goes into it. So hard for me to – I don't know. It's hard for me to throw my chips in on the Niners, but at this point, how do you go against them?
Well, and the stat is, you know, I don't have the exact stat in front of me, but I think it's like the last 6 or 7 games, the Niners have won them all. The Rams haven't won against San Francisco in a few years. I mean, does that get into your head in a big game like this?
Well, no question it does. And I think the one factor you have to look at, right? We know Matt Stafford really well, playing him for a number of years in the Vikes against the Lions, and And what he will do, as we all know, is he will throw you the ball. I mean, he will make those mistakes. You know, he's got the arm talent and ability to think he can make every throw, and quite honestly, he can make every throw, and then some. But that confidence can get him in trouble sometimes, especially with the pass rush like the Niners can put on him. And they're consistent. They're good up front. You see what Eric Armstead did last week. I mean, just really disruptive. And what D'Amico Ryans is doing with that defense right now is unique and special. And I think D'Amico is my draft class, an 06 guy out of Alabama, a great dude. And I think D'Amico's got that defense humming at a really high clip right now. And that's obviously fun for me to see in a lot of ways.
Going over to the AFC, it turns out that Week 1 Vikings loss wasn't so bad to the Bengals because they're still playing. They get they get Kansas City here, and that's maybe the Cinderella team. I personally, I like to go for Cinderellas. I like to cheer for them, get somebody new, get somebody different in there. If the Vikings can't be in it, let's go for the Cinderella, and I think they got the glass slipper this year.
Man, I hope so. I mean, I think everybody in the world, right? You're the Chiefs. You make the 4 AFC title games in a row. You have a Super Bowl in your grip already. You know, what Joe Burrow has done there in 2 short years after coming off an ACL, I mean, it's really incredible. And if you're a Cincinnati Bengal fan right now, you're saying we are on the dawn of a special, special time. And quite honestly, the AFC quarterback situation right now in those top 4 or 5 teams is incredible. I mean, you throw Lamar Jackson into some of these other young quarterbacks, and it's amazing because a couple of years ago, you probably wouldn't have said it was going to shape up like it has. But now some of these young guys have come out. Justin Herbert out west. I mean, it's pretty incredible. So why not? I mean, the Bengals have absolutely nothing to lose. And that's a scary team because we know what they have offensively. I mean, you have 3 elite receivers that can make plays. You have a running back in Mixon that has got a disruptive pass with a bunch of stuff going on, but he's a super talent. And then you have a defense that's playing really, really well. And I love what the guys are doing on the outside right now. I mean, they're playing well on the outside. Obviously, you got to find a way to slow down Tyreek Hill. You know, that Bills and Chiefs game, you know, what more can you say about that game? But, you know, there's nothing better for a team to be counted out and to be dismissed. And that's exactly what's going on right now with these Bengals.
Well, that's kind of one question I had, because you look at that Chiefs Bills game from this past weekend and offense all over the place. Do the Bengals have the defense to stop or slow that down, or are we headed for another high-scoring Bills-Chiefs kind of game?
Well, I mean, these games can be like 17-14, middle of the fourth quarter, and end up 35-32. I mean, it happens that quickly with these offenses and these quarterbacks. You know, I didn't think, you know, it's hard because I didn't think the Bengals had that type of a defense and that type of a team. But the reality is at this point, if you make it this far and you've gone through these first 2 weekend matchups and got wins and found a way to get through, and defense has played well enough, now knowing that the Chiefs are hot as a pistol and the offense is freakish, you've got to play a style that can counteract that. Can you keep Mahomes off the field? Can you keep your offense on the field for extended drives and then get touchdowns? That'll be the key. If you see the Bengals settling for a lot of field goals and not be able to maintain drives, you can see this thing get lopsided quick. But you know, you gotta go and play the game. I mean, you never know what happens, right? You get a guy gets dinged in the first quarter, and you go in there and play. I mean, you never know in the NFL how this game's going to take shape. So I don't think that the Chiefs are discounting what the Bengals are. But no matter what you think as a player, there's a little conversation in the back of your head that says these are the Bengals, right? These are the same Bengals the last 15 years. Are we really worried about these guys? You know, I just don't think you can have that same edge when you're doing it in an upset situation like this. And I think that could play a factor. I hope it's a great game. I hope we have a great Sunday of football.
Now let's go to the news of the week, as the Minnesota Vikings have a new GM as of Wednesday, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. What do you think of the hire, getting him from Cleveland?
I was hoping somebody else would say the name before I had to, so I appreciate that. No, I mean, I don't know a lot about his background. You know, I can't say I'm well versed in the history of what he's done. I've just, you know, what I've heard through the Twitterverse and other things in these last 24 to 48 hours. But if you go through the process and you're in a position, after 9 years in the NFL and being in the personnel department to be a GM, you know, to me, you've earned your stripes. And I like that he's got a little bit of a new school mentality. I heard him open his mouth and talk for the first time yesterday, and I love what I heard. I just love his approach. I love his very conversational, not business-like kind of approach to the interview. And I think that our fans will love that. I think our fan, you know, Rick was excellent, but Rick was very businesslike. He's going to keep everything really tight and close to his sleeve, and and he's going to be very a business-like GM, and I'm sure Kwesi will be the same way to a degree. But I would love to have a GM that gets on the podium and has a little more personality with his fan base, and I think that's something that would really go a long ways. And of course, the biggest thing, right now is let's go get the right coach, and I know he's tied to a few of these guys, and you wonder. I know D'Amico Ryan's name keeps popping up, but you wonder if that's a guy that could get this job as a young guy. It'd be great.
You mentioned his looking at the background and the business style. He does come, Ivy League educated, economics and business background. Yeah, he's been in the NFL for a little while here, but it's more of a business side of things. Does that mean the coach maybe has more say in personnel, or maybe more sway in as far as on field football talent?
Man, it's hard to know. It's hard to know how the business relationship is going to work out. I think. I think you can get pigeonholed, right? If everybody's saying that Kwesi is an analytics guy, he's a numbers guy, he's a Harvard grad, the whole thing, and he's coming at it with an economics background, et cetera. But when you're in the business for now as a decade, he knows personnel, he knows what wins, he knows what he's looking for. He's helped build that Cleveland roster that's strong. And I think you don't want to overlook that part of it too. Yes, I bring this other sort of different angle and background, but to answer your question, I do think the head coach is going to need to be a strong personnel guy on top of a coach. Or can Kwesi bring in somebody that's maybe stronger than him in that facet, and he brings his approach in too? I know there's been some conversation about bringing in kind of an associate or a secondary GM, and I do think that would be a great approach too, because if you're going to go after a young coach that's going to have a lot on his plate as far as just getting himself organized and being a first-time head coach, to throw personnel on him as well on a big level is going to be tough. But what we can all agree on as Vikings fans is we just want guys that have a great, guys, gals that have a great relationship, that communicate, that are together, that form a team of saying, this is the Vikings and here's what we're building. And there's no disruption to that. There's no, back and forth. There's no rift in the regime. We just want to be moving forward together and have a clear path, and then move that direction. I think that's something that we'd all love to see.
You already mentioned the name D'Amico Ryans. He's been speculated as the leader in the clubhouse. If he does turn out to be the coach, or maybe better question is, who do you think will be the head coach of the Vikings?
Oh man, is that tough? That's just a hard one to answer, honestly. I'd like to think I had the answer. I think I would choose him right now as leader in the clubhouse, quite honestly, with what he's done with that defense.
And anybody else that's because now that you have your GM, you got to make sure that the head coach and the GM are of the same philosophy. Anybody else that you're looking at?
What's most intriguing to me, I think, is quite honestly, is the approach that's been taken. I thought a lot of these guys would be gone by now. I think the timing of these hires has kind of been baffling to me as far as how long it's taken. Obviously, because we went GM and need to go GM first, I'm glad it went that way because we have our pick. But now you see Sean Payton get let go in New Orleans or him walk away. How's that going to affect this group? He's been tied to the Cowboys job. Is Mike McCarthy going to be on the street? So maybe we don't even know the full breadth of who's available. And I think that's something that's very interesting to think about and consider. Now, again, I would love to get rid of, old school mentality and nepotism in the league and go with somebody new and fresh and kind of create our own path. Because I think these guys that are still coaching with Shanahan's obviously an old football name, but he had a young start and a fresh start. Obviously, McVay's done a lot of great things out there in L.A. And so, it's the trend to go young and create new opportunities. And man, do I love that. I think it'd be a fresh start for us as well. So, D'Amico's probably 38, 39. He's similar around my age. And I think it'd be a great opportunity to give him a head coaching job and give him a start. So, I'll put my name in the hat for him because he's a friend and would be a good hire.
Then lastly, next week, the Pro Bowl, 4 Vikings in it, Brian O'Neill, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, and Harrison Smith. And as a former Pro Bowler yourself, and you can be honest, you can give me a runaround. Is this a game no one wants to play in? Because that's kind of the reputation that the Pro Bowl, it's a nice honor, but nobody really wants to go and do that game.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to be there at all for the football, but I sure as hell liked the wings and the cocktails and the parties all week. That was a good time. So it's fun to be honored. It's quite honestly, it was a feather in the cap that I really was appreciative of getting because I felt like I was a guy who could have had 3 or 4, and I was just really content and happy that I got to a couple. And it doesn't mean a lot other than the fact that, you're named in the top group in the league. And I was fortunate enough to be all pro once, and, quite honestly, to be named all pro once was incredible. So, I mean, these guys that are going, it's an honor, because it means you're in the top of the heap and the top of the world of what you do. And that says a lot. And it means a lot to be able to retire and say, hey, I'm a 2-time or 3-time or 1-time Pro Bowler. Pretty special. But as far as the game goes, yeah, I was pretty checked out. It was a lot of fun though. I had a blast because I didn't take it very serious, and the NFL is nothing but serious all the time.
Sounds good. Hey, we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks, and we'll be previewing a Super Bowl here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be fun. I just don't know how much can you ask for though to have a weekend like we did of football and to say, hey, these title games need to be as good. It's almost an impossible ask, but the teams that are out there, I think, will give us some fireworks. So let's hope it works out.
Sounds good. We'll chat with you then, Chad.
All right. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you, Chad Greenway. I'm Joel Niemeyer on the MN Scorefeed Blitz.
The MN Sports Blitz has been produced by KDUZ, KARP, KGLB, and the Ingstad, Minnesota Radio Network. Complete episodes are available on our website and on YouTube.